That's how I feel when I walk into church.
I feel that, brother.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, hev yeah. Sorry. Hello, and welcome back to Rewatching Home Movies, a weekly watch-along podcast where three friends break down the 1999 animated series, Home Movies. My name is Tim, and I'm obsessed with home movies.
My name's Adele, and I'm a home movies newbie.
And my name's Marcin, and I've never seen home movies.
Home Movies Season 2, Episode 6, titled Impressions. Original air date February 10th, 2002 on Adult Swim. Written by Brendan Small, Bill Broaddus, and cast. Directed by Lauren Bouchard and produced by Melissa Barton-Galski. The synopsis for this episode, short and sweet one. Brendan pretends to be Jason to impress Cynthia. Meanwhile, Paula worries about a typing test. That's it.
Impressions.
Yes, Impressions is the name of this episode.
That is the first time I heard the title name, and I don't know if it fits.
Well, I mean, he was impersonating Jason, and McGurk was impersonating literally anybody but himself.
Yeah, the opposite of himself. I took it more as impressions, like, not quite first impressions. I mean, maybe in Paula's situation, it was a first impression with what she was dealing with, but with, like, the Cynthia and, like, McGurk, it's like the impressions that you are giving somebody for a second time.
Yeah.
That's more how I took it, as kind of like the impression you're giving somebody else. But it's just weird to me because, not to get into like wild spoiler county here, but there's a later episode that literally has to do with people doing impressions of each other. Why don't we get into the creative corner? The creative corner, of course, is something creative we are producing, consuming. We just want to bring to light. Creative corner. Now we're ready, Bob.
He's really phoning it in.
Who wants to go first for this creative corner?
I can go first, if that is okay with the room.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so this is someone I just recently found as a filmmaker. As a filmmaker who has struggled to make a project, I'm working on Doorman, and it's been going on for 8 years. And recently I found another filmmaker. Her name is, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce her last name, so I'm just going to spell it out. But Cegavske. She is a stop-motion animator and artist.
Nice.
And she spent 13 years working on a film that came out in 2006. It is called Blood, Tea, and Red String.
Ooh.
It is a very atmospheric and weird stop-motion film. It's not like Mad God, if anyone's seen Mad God, as far as how existential and weird it is, but it's a really good watch. And she is currently working on another film right now called The Seed and the Sand. She's got a teaser on YouTube right now, and she's filming her process. She's been working on it for a long time. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but the teaser is just amazing. You can really see how much love and care went into the stop motion of it. It's kind of an inspiration. Seeing someone she was the only one who's worked on it. It was like her passion project for 13 years she was working on it. And to see that type of passion and that type of fortitude and just to keep going is something that I needed to see. Because I think all filmmakers especially have that project they've been working on. Walter Benesiak, who I had on the Season of the Curse 2 fundraiser we were talking about, he spent years trying to get his college project, that TV show, done, The Infinity Trinity, and it took him forever. And we talk about how all filmmakers have that one project they're just trying to get through. And to see how amazing this film was for her specifically, how it turned out, it was just really good. I think I would recommend it highly for everybody to watch, is Blood, Tea, and Red String.
Where can people watch it?
It's on Tubi.
Oh, nice.
I believe it's on...
Isn't Tubi free?
Yeah, it has ads.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, most things do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's a really good film. I recommend anybody watch it. It's definitely weird and atmospheric, and the music is very, very fun.
I love stop motion.
Same.
It's always done so well, and it does take for fucking ever to just do one scene. So 13 years, like, God bless her, that dedication.
I love stop motion. It's definitely one of my favorite things. And especially with stop motion, it doesn't matter the way that the characters are designed or anything like that. It just has a style to it that you can just, very enticing and very fun. Corpse Bride. It makes it feel, I love Corpse Bride. Love Corpse Bride. But it makes it feel real in a practical way, and it just gives it a sense of style that I don't think any other medium does.
Right. Yeah. Animation in general, you have to have a lot of patience to do it. But stop motion animation is like the next level.
Oh, yeah.
Of patience. Yeah, stop motion animation too. I feel like there's a lot of utilities out there right now that you could probably just get on your phone that you can do stop motion animation with. So it's like the tools are there for pretty much anyone. It's not just the artistic abilities, but it's the overwhelming amount of patience that you need to do something like that. 13 years is definitely...
It's something that really helped me, especially with the doorman, like working on that. It just, seeing that story and seeing how much she pushed through, it's definitely kudos to her and everybody who works on stuff like that.
Right. Well, and it's just a testament to, as small creators, there's no due date on your project. Your project gets done when your project gets done, and whether that takes 13 weeks or 13 months or 13 years, it takes the time it takes. So you should never let the amount of time that it takes discourage you. Just something you keep in mind. I hear it all the time in comedy. People literally in the game for 20, 30, 40 years until they even get a break. So
it's how you like hone your craft too.
Absolutely.
With me and the doorman, when I first started it, when I had no idea how film worked, and recently just looking back into the project and going, oh, this is the film. Like, I had no idea what it was until years later. Sometimes it takes that time, and while you're sitting there honing your craft and making it better, that's when you'll finally get your break, is when you finally feel the confidence from all that hard work you put into it.
Can't rush art.
That's right. This is a very good creative corner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Would you like to go next, or would you like me to go?
You can go next if you want.
Okay. My creative corner is a video game this week. And it's a video game that I've become very addicted to. And it's actually a video game that's gotten me to start streaming again. During the pandemic, I started streaming on Twitch pretty regularly. I stream under the name Timmy_Blaze. I started playing a game called TCG, Trading Card Game Shop Simulator. And TCG Shop Simulator is Supermarket Simulator, kind of blew up not too long ago. This game is Supermarket Simulator, but instead of running a supermarket, you run a nerd shop, a trading card game shop. The twist with this game is they actually encourage you to open the packs of cards, and then each card has got its own value, and then you can turn around and sell cards. But just like Pokemon or Magic or any trading card game, there's foils, there's full arts, there's chase cards. And I played the game a lot off stream. It was a fun game, but playing it on stream and having an audience to interact with and stuff like that just kind of takes it to the next level. Pulling like a high value card is like, it's like a community moment where we all cheer, and it's just a goofy little game. So Trading Card Shop Simulator, just to show you how much I enjoy this game, I paid for it.
Wow.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, I'm standing.
Got money.
I'm standing up and I'm waving a hand, a la Miss America style.
Fancy pants, Rich McGee over here.
I'm going to be completely transparent. I did not pay for it at first. But the game has so much charm. They have a very ambitious roadmap of things they want to add to the game. And also, I've been getting very much into modding games, and that has a bunch of mods for it. So I did drop the $12 in order to buy a legit copy of the game so I can play it, stream it, and mod it.
Didn't you just tell me the other day that they had an update where you can sell comic books now?
They have a comic book upgrade.
It'll be comic book guy.
Yeah, and all these upgrades are free too. So this is honestly like the hilarious part of it. Again, just like Supermarket Simulator, but it's a trading card shop. Also, one in 4 or 5 customers that walk in visibly stinks, like has stink lines on them. And it is your job at the beginning of the game to get a spray deodorant and spray them down, but then you start getting like automatic sprayers and stuff like that. So it's just like a goofy twist on those games, but it's very in-depth. It's very fun. And I used to stream Fallout 76 a lot, and I feel like that's kind of a niche game if you like Fallout or if you like Fallout 76. But as soon as I started streaming Trading Card Game Simulator, like, dude, my chat's like popping off. I got like a ton of people in stream. It's fun, but it is a fun game to play. It's a fun game to stream. There was a hot minute there where I was trying to stream for a couple hours every night around 8 p.m. I do think that game, if they continue to upgrade it and add stuff to it and I can find cool mods for it, I'm down to stream that game 3-4 nights a week. Yeah, TCG Card Shop Simulator. Very fun game. Highly recommended.
Nice.
I wanted you to have the Yu-Gi-Oh skin because I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh guy. Some people might not know that. I actually went to locals quite often, especially when I was in Kentucky. It was the only thing that I can do down there was collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I spent a lot of money. I almost said a lot of money on on some cards. I wouldn't recommend doing that, especially in the state of Yu-Gi-Oh.
I was hoping, me personally, for a Magic the Gathering skin mod, because that was my jam back in the day. I don't want to think about the number. I don't want to think about the amount of money I spent on Magic the Gathering cards, nor do I want to think about the cards that I had lost in a bad breakup and the value of some of those cards.
Dude, I have friends who are huge Magic the Gathering fan. Like, I have a friend Chaz who has signed copies by the artists of the cards, and he has like a something Wheel of Fortune or whatever. That's like a huge valuable card. I hear it to no end about how expensive these cards and how great and I'm sitting over here like playing proxies. So I'm like, I don't give a shit.
Any Magic the Gathering I've played in the last decade has been there were Magic the Gathering, the card games on PS3. And then the Magic the Gathering Arena came out on like PC and phones and stuff like that. That's the only way I play Magic now is digitally, because I cannot justify spending money on physical cards anymore.
I don't think you can justify it. It's like cardboard. You're charging people $200 for cardboard with foil, Mr. Squidward, with foil. It's literally like I love card games. I love the community in it. Like, especially going to locals. I remember getting my ass kicked by a 16-year-old kid with a lisp, and everyone else in the local card game were scared of him because he would come in with his Fluanderies deck and he'd just talk shit to you while you're playing. And it was just so fun. I love card games. Yeah, exactly. But
that's funny.
I love card games, and I love watching you play it, especially those legendary pulls.
Dude, it's ridiculous. It's so much fun. It's fake cards. Trading card game doesn't exist. Fake cards, fake money value, and we're over here like screaming because we pulled a $1,700 card.
Well, there's like a list of all the things they want to do with the game as far as updates, and one of them is so you can actually play like the card game itself, which I think is pretty cool.
So that's my creative corner. What do you got?
Creative corner, doodly doo. So last week, Tim here mentioned that we're getting married.
Yeah, boy.
So my creative corner is planning our wedding. Because you really have to get creative with that shit, because it's a day where you have to essentially, it has to encompass you as a couple. While also simultaneously like making sure all your friends and family are having fun and that they're accommodated for, because we have people who are gluten-free, vegetarian, all that fun stuff, and picking out the music has been really fun. And just we booked a violinist and the officiant, and we got our pictures taken, and just the whole process. It's been stressful, and as the bride, people kind of look to you to be like, oh, you're making all the choices. And I'm pretty lucky the fact that like Tim doesn't push that all on me. He helps pick out things along with me, but it's just been a fun journey to kind of like create a day that's going to represent us, and while also appreciating the people that have loved us along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been very interesting to me navigating these waters. At the end of the day, this is our day. This is our event. We want it to put out a vibe that matches kind of who we are and how we are, but simultaneously kind of appeasing certain, I don't even...
My parents.
Yeah. Well,
I'll say it.
appeasing certain traditions, appeasing both of our parents, stuff like that. So it's been very interesting, but when we got engaged, the game plan was a 2-year engagement before wedding, and that was very purposeful.
Yeah. I think I would have been way more stressed if we had gotten engaged and then I had to immediately jump into planning a wedding.
Yeah, we're a year out, less than a year out.
Where this way we could just kind of take things chill, enjoy our engagement, and then really... Because the ideas I had at the beginning of our engagement, fucking in the shitter. Like, we're not even going with any of those ideas anymore because they were just me at 3 a.m. like, I want this and this. And then it's just like, now that we're in the throes of planning everything, it's just like, no. Especially, this is not to put a timestamp on things, but we're in October right now. So the feeling of October and how I feel in October, I want that represented next October too. Because when I was planning before, it was like in the spring, and it was all these like spring colors, and I'm ranting now about my wedding.
No, keep going.
But like, I don't know. I'm glad it's happening the way it's happening because I'm in a better mindset for it. I'm in the fall mindset, which will translate to next year in the fall. So yeah, it's just been fun.
I just wanted to make sure we had enough time to make any changes, pivots, anything like that. Because like you said, things change so much. And what we are thinking about now might be completely different later and vice versa.
I think everyone should have a longer engagement, especially because an engagement is that time that you get to gestate of like, oh, I'm going to be with you. Yeah. Like we're not just like boyfriend, girlfriend anymore. We're not boyfriend or girlfriend, Right. We are now part of a union. Like, and now it's a different ball game altogether.
Right. And like it's from girlfriend to fiance to wife, like those are 3 very different levels of commitment. And to take it over 2 years, you get to enjoy being engaged. And I always say being a fiance is as close as I'll ever get to being Beyonce.
You always say that? I only heard you say it to me.
I usually say it to Tim.
Oh, that's fair. But I really also enjoy that both of you are taking the reins as far as planning it.
Yes.
Because growing up as like, oh, it's the bride's day. It's never like the union. I love that Tim said it's our day because I've always heard it's her day. And as someone who grew up like fantasizing about my wedding day and how I want to feel, and it's like, fuck you, I'm coming down the aisle. Like,
I want it to be as special as possible for Adele, but it is our day.
Yeah.
Like. Yeah.
I never really understood that mentality that it's for the woman, and it's like, it takes 2 to tango. You're both getting married. So like, I remember in the very beginning of it, I remember a lot of the questions were being directed just towards me. And I'm like, I don't want to answer all these questions. Like, that's not all just about me. There's a whole other person in this relationship. So it's been nice to kind of share that. And I think it's kind of breaking that norm of it having to be all about me, because low-key, I don't want it to be all about me.
There's a few traditions we're trying to leave in the past.
Oh my God, I've been so existential over this wedding. I'm all like, why are we doing these traditions? What does this mean?
Exactly.
Why is my father giving me away? That's kind of weird, Yeah.
But I really can't stand the idea of a wedding or like the traditional wedding because it's just filled with sexist ideas and a lot of different just this means something that you don't believe in, but you're doing it anyway just because you're told to do it. I can't stand it. Like having a priest, it's like, well, I could get into it.
Yeah.
But my parents have asked me multiple times why I'm not getting married in the church, and every single time I'm like, because I don't want to.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, I'm also excited to jump into this episode.
Would you say equally excited?
Nope. I am way more excited to marry you.
Same.
What is this 4th in a row we jump into the episode already in the movie?
Yeah.
I think so. I think this is 4.
Kind of a running theme.
Yeah. So we have Jason and Melissa. They're hooded figures holding up flashlights to their faces. Did you see they're also sporting third eyes on their foreheads?
Oh, yep. That's exactly what I've written down.
Oh, yeah.
I drew that, or I tried to.
For this to be, for what they say, for that to be the first thing that's said, especially nowadays, I'm like, oh no. Because they're like, we're about to reveal things that are going to alter your mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is too real, guys.
Shatter your perceived notions of understanding. It sounded so churchy.
Oh, and also with you.
Yes. Yeah. So they tell him what they're about to say to Brendan is gonna turn his world upside down. He claims he's ready, and that's when they tell him, according to the prophecy, that he is the Starboy, and it is his destiny and things. So he tells them straight up, okay, well, I need to be alone so I can process this to a point of understanding.
I think the vibe, as far as the opening went, I think this is my favorite film they've done. I know the jazz one was just too spectacular, but this one had some style. It had some charm to it.
Yeah.
Especially when the chair started spinning.
Oh my God, yes.
Literally the next line, a very cinematic scene. So he's sitting on the box and it's spinning, the music's playing. Lyrics of the music is alone.
So good.
He wants to be alone. And then it even it says alone on the screen and it punches in and then the AL falls off and it just says one. It's so cinematic.
That's very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when we pull back to reveal that this is essentially Brendan is showing the movie to Dwayne and the band Scab so they can do the music for it. They do another one of those things where in the movie, Brendan's character kind of has a finger up, and that's when Brendan stops. He's like, hold on a second. Wait a minute. And he tells them yeah, the dialogue kind of covers most of that, so you don't need to re-explain it with lyrics. And Brendan tells them, maybe make it about who Starboy is. So they take a second crack at it, and at one point in the lyrics, they say Starboy. He's the captain of outer space. And then Brendan's like, no, wait, stop. And that's when Brendan quickly explains he's not the captain of outer space. That's a completely different character. And he's like, did you skip ahead? And Dwayne has the book of I don't know why his scripts are in books now, but Dwayne has the book of his script. And he's like, wait, what? Dwayne tells Brendan, okay, I think I got it. He starts playing a guitar solo and then just stops. He's like, sorry, I thought I had something there.
It was a good guitar solo.
It really
right
was.
There.
Yeah.
I thought that's what he had. I was like, oh, he's breaking it down.
Well, that's when the drummer asks why Starboy and the captain of outer space just can't be the same person.
See, as a filmmaker, when I was watching that, I'm like, you're in the post-production. And then Brendan started bringing, he's like, no, you don't understand. And he started ranting about, we're in post-production.
And then not to jump ahead a little, he's like, the actors, they're probably already involved in other projects. They're not available.
I loved the line, I don't even know where it is from where we're talking, but the dude is like, we're trying to give you a gift. By telling you how to fix this.
That's when they were trying to give him this idea. They're like, no, what if they're related?
Yes, yeah.
And I was like, thanks for the film. It's just this is post-production. I mean, my only thing was when they pulled out and they saw Dwayne was doing the sound, the soundtrack and trying to create the vibe of sound ambience is probably my favorite part of the filmmaking process, is just creating that. So that was very fun for me to pull out. And there's Dwayne just, what if I went a little doodly doodly doodle?
I love Dwayne.
Yeah, they're going back and forth on that. Dwayne tells the band to shut up. And that's when Cynthia enters the scene and says, hey, to Brendan. So it's this weird thing where it's that's the end of this scene. Cynthia comes in and says, hey, and Brendan says, hey. And then it kind of fades to another scene, which starts with Cynthia saying, hey, and Brendan saying, hey. Well, Brendan says, hey, again, and Cynthia says, hey, yourself. And Brendan's like, hey, myself here in front of everyone?
What does that mean?
He's probably going to jerk it or something
I think that was, some weird, hey, myself, in front of everybody.
He's just a babe.
Yeah. Well, the band they're having their own little side conversation anyway.
Yeah.
So Brendan asks her how she is, and she just says she's picking up her stupid bag. Brendan says that he's glad she's there because they should, maybe do something sometime. She asks, what they have in mind, and he's like, nothing.
Yeah.
He's fumbling the bag already.
Oh, yeah. And she even says, oh, nothing. That sounds fun. And Brendan clarifies that maybe they'll do something as a team. And I think what were this suggests is a sack race and a
ping pong team.
Ping pong team.
Yeah.
And Cynthia's like, yeah, why don't you just call me if you figure it out? So we see a quick shot of Dwayne and the other band whispering to each other. Cynthia leaves, and Dwayne's like, all right, Brendan, how about we split the difference by making Starboy and the Captain of Outer Space related? Don't answer yet. Just think about it.
I loved that. That is such a hey, it's okay. But here, just think about it. Don't answer now.
Don't answer now because your answer is going to be no.
Yep.
I have both heard that advice given to me after someone's given me an idea, or I have done that to somebody else. Like, don't think about it. Just think about it. Like, just don't answer now, but just think about it.
So I guess it's a little different for me because as a comedian, I guess the relevant thing with that would be if a comedian tries to like give me a tag on a joke or like, oh, hey, you should say this. And it's so easier for me to be like, yeah, I'll try it out. And then the next time I see it, be like, didn't work. Sorry. Don't know what to tell you. Comedy is so flexible like that.
Yeah.
Movie makes it a little more permanent.
Here's a little snippet. Nate, who played Dean in Puzzle Valley, he gave me an idea. He's like, what if Mr. Saturday was my dad? And I was like, he's black. You're
What
white.
if I'm suddenly black?
I've already done the character art.
What if we change all the characters?
But just like really fun stuff like that has always been through. Or like I could go on for so long about all of the little comments or texts Nate has given me about Season of the Curse too. He's like, what if this happened? And I was like, could you, at the end of the script, you'll see. The actors are probably attached to different projects.
Yeah. He's like, but I could. And you're like, no, the other actors. So the next thing we see Paula, and she's sitting in a row. It's like panning through a row of other women. It appears to be a temp agency. So there's a man sitting next to Paula. And excuse me, are you here for the... And Paula cuts him off, and she's like, yes. He asks her how her typing is. She says it's fine, but then she asks him, like, why are there so many people here? And he says it's the job market. And then he gives her a little, like, between you and me, the only thing the people upstairs care about, typing. And you said yours is fine. And then he even tells her, like, I'll be around afterwards if you want to chat. I'm pretty sure this character is voiced by Sam Cedar, who does the voice of Fenton. Okay. He is in the credits as one of the voices, and I'm pretty sure I know all the other voices in the episode, so I'm like pretty sure this is Sam Cedar, because last episode was Fenton Muley's party episode. My guess is they probably have these guys for a couple of days. So that's why I recall in season 1 there was a lot of like back-to-back Mitch Hedberg episodes, for example.
Yeah, I miss those days.
Yeah. So I think we got some back-to-back Sam Cedar here as the temp agency worker. He does have a name later, which I wrote down. But
oh, okay. I was about to say, did we get a name from him? But apparently not.
So on IMDb, I think it's just temp agency worker. But there's a scene later on in the episode where I believe somebody calls him by a name.
Gotcha.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did this episode have commentary?
It did not. No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I did not mention that. Out of the next 4 episodes we're recording, 1 of them has commentary.
Yeah.
Does that make you happier or sadder?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I personally... I enjoy listening to commentary. It's an additional thing that gets added when I have to do episode breakdowns, so it adds a little bit more time. Some commentary, I've learned some real gems. And some commentary, I am like, why did they let John Benjamin do this bit for 12 minutes?
That's how I feel every time Jason's on screen.
So it's a mixed bag. I do enjoy commentary because for me, all of these episodes I've seen numerous times. I've not necessarily seen commentary on all of them. So it's nice. It's like new content to an old show that you love. Yeah. So I don't mind it particularly.
How's your typing, though?
My typing sucks.
My typing sucks, too. I'd say speed-wise, I'm okay, but then my accuracy drops tremendously. But if I had a job that required me to type fast consistently all the time, it would be a absolute nightmare for me.
If I could type via my phone, I'd be the best there is. But as far as like with my little thumbs,
Adele
I'm
two
so
thumbs.
fast. But with like an actual keyboard, I'm all over the place. I use
same.
my pointer fingers and I'm just like and I have my own system. I don't do the home keys. It's too much to remember.
I have to put my hands over the home row, my imaginary home row. I can't use my pinkies. I can't use my ring fingers. I can only use these two.
The peace fingers.
The peace fingers and then the thumbs for the space. I took a keyboard class and did not do well. But that job seems to be... Isn't that job obsolete or is like going to be obsolete pretty soon as far as typing is concerned?
Well, I think some jobs will always require typing to some extent. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, when I do these episode breakdowns on my iPad, 95% of it is dictated. And if I'm typing, it's to like correct a mistake or add something in between. Mm-hmm. But I try to dictate it, 1, because my typing sucks, but 2, I feel like if I dictate what's going on, it sounds more natural. It doesn't sound like I'm just like reading off of a piece of paper, which is I don't want that.
That's fair. I just know that court systems use stenographers.
That's a whole different kind of typing.
I don't understand how.
I just watched a video on a court stenographer typing out, and it's the keyboard and everything. It's all completely different, and these people are typing at like hundreds of words per minute.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's like they're magical people to me. Like if someone's like, "Hey, I'm a stenographer," I'm like, I never thought I'd see you out here.
You exist. They let you leave. Oh my gosh! Did you guys have to take typing classes in high school?
Yeah, I took. I didn't do well in it. But
no, same.
I'm gonna show my age a little bit here. So I was in a typing class in school, and this was when like computers were a home computer was kind of first coming around.
Right.
And for our typing class, we would sit in this lab, and there'd be other people at the computer lab, but aren't in the typing class. So they're just playing whatever, doing whatever. And I remember in our typing class, you'd have to sit there and be like A space B space, and then you'd have to type out a word and then type it out again and again and again. Right. And there was this girl who would sit in the computer lab, and when people were doing the typing stuff, she'd be like, "Hey, why don't you just hit the repeat key?" And everyone's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, just do that and then hit the repeat key, and you don't have to type it all out again." And everyone's like, "You can do that?" And then she'd be like, "Nah, I'm just fucking with you."
That's mean.
And none of us even knew that, like, you can do that. You can totally copy and paste. Absolutely. You could even do that back then.
Control C, Control V.
Yeah. But now we cut immediately to a bell going off, and Paula is taking her typing test. I feel like whoever animated this scene of Paula's first typing test had a pretty good idea of what like test taking anxiety looked like.
Oh yeah. I wrote down Paula typing is me every day.
Well, definitely at this part where Paula's like, I can't find the M. There's no M. There's no M. Like, dude, that's me all the time. I'm like, where is the F on this keyboard? Oh, right here where every F on every keyboard is. Cool.
I saw a tweet at one point, and it fucked me up because it's like, there's no real reason why the letter should be that way on a keyboard. And it's like, there is no
but
reason.
Have you ever tried to type on a keyboard that's like actual alphabetical, like A, B, C, D? You're like, what the hell is this shit?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know how it works. I don't know why it works.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think this is a great representation. So, like, dude, she's trying to find the M, doesn't have one. Letters are falling off the keyboard. We hear, like, the room full of people typing very fast. She looks up, and all the test takers look exactly the same. They all look at her at the same time. They, like, wave to her. They give her the, like finger across the throat. I would not be doing well under those circumstances.
That's how I feel when I walk into church.
I feel that, brother.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, sorry.
HE double hockey sticks, Tim.
Great movie, by the way. One of the best there is. Oh, my God.
When the test is all over and done, Paula has typed M. So she sees the man that was talking to her before the test. He asked her how she did, and she's like, good. And then he asked for the test, and that's when she tears it up and throws it. He's like very confused. He's like, oh. She tells him she couldn't do well on the test due to personal female things.
That's a weird way to say you have diarrhea.
Okay. Okay, only women get diarrhea now. All right. I will say I did enjoy what the animators did subtly between Paula and this dude. Like, he would put his hand on her chair and she would like look at it. Or, like, I think later on he puts his hand on her shoulder and she like gives it side eye. He's like winking at her all the time, and it's just like, oh no. Yep. Saw that.
I have a very important question about this character. How do you feel about bolo ties?
Bolo ties? There's a time and place for a bolo tie. I don't mind a bolo tie. There are some pretty bolo ties out there.
The only time I've ever seen anybody who wears a bolo tie that looks good in it is Nick. And maybe it's because I'm biased, but at the same time, I'm just like, I can't pull off a bolo tie. I don't want to try a bolo.
There's some pretty badass ones out there.
Yeah, there's some cool ones.
Yeah. If you see any, send them my way, and I'll judge them.
Yeah. You'll be like, wrong.
I just think of there's an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place where he's like, you don't deserve the bolo tie.
Oh, man.
I want the audience to know that Adele threw her head back and laughed.
I just kind of pointed behind me like, I'll get going. I have no idea.
Throws my head back in podcast.
That's gonna be the new seasons of this podcast, is just making Tim watch all the kids shows that we used to watch.
Relive our childhood, Tim.
Dude, I would love the distraction of that right now. That sounds absolutely lovely.
Wild Thornberry.
Yeah. I'll show you some stuff.
Smashing.
I'll be like, hey, I watched this when I was a kid, when you guys were -9 years old.
Oh, I'd enjoy that.
Yeah,
There
absolutely.
might be some good stuff. It'll probably all be like weirdly misogynistic now.
I had a thing for Weird Science, the movie, that like I used to watch it all the time, and I rewatched it with Nick, and it did not age well.
Nope.
Anyway,
So that's
Well,
what, yeah. Well, go
I
ahead.
made Tim watch both Halloween Town 1 and 2, and that aged beautifully.
Oh, yeah.
Like a fine wine.
I'm so evil.
Join me in this movie theater.
I just love watching movies like that because the second one we watched, like, this character gets introduced, and I'm like, well, he seems like a fine young man and is probably not the main bad guy at all.
Oh my god! So the part where, not to get into this,
No, we're keeping it.
the part where
All distractions.
part where Cal's face like emerges from the giant brick in Halloween Town, I couldn't stop laughing before it happened because I could just feel it coming. So like a good 10 minutes before it happened, I'm just sitting over here laughing my ass off, waiting for it to happen. And he comes out, he emerges. You naughty girl. I'm just like, no, my childhood.
Were you the one who sent me the TikTok of
Yep.
the Halloween?
That was me. That was me. I was like, this is the only reason why I made Tim watch this movie so I can show him this TikTok.
That's so fucking funny. Just real quick, Halloween Town 2 specifically. Marnie's mom, when she gets turned into the witch because she was wearing the mask.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Yes. Dude. Oh. No comment, but also yes.
All distractions here. Anyway.
Paula tells him she's having female things. He immediately apologizes. He's like, oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Like, he was very apologetic. She says it's okay. It's part of being a woman. I'm just so frustrated. I was here to take the test, and I let myself down and you down and temp agencies down. And he tells her that she can reschedule the test. It's fine. Okay.
Barely. As soon as he says, all right, she's, thank you so much.
The next scene, we are at a country club with Brendan, Jason, and Melissa. Brendan and Melissa are telling Jason it's really nice. It's a really nice club. Thanks for bringing us here. And you hear Jason's reaction. I didn't build it.
Jason in this episode.
He's a little brat.
He's such a bitch.
Jason is acting a little snooty.
Yep.
He's so mean.
Saying, hey, those who have should give. I'm not stuck up. You know, my family belongs to a country club and yours don't.
And then immediately the waiter comes with their food and he's like, it usually doesn't take a half an hour to get our food.
He's like, are you new?
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And Melissa even calls him out and says you're being kind of rude. Right before that, though, Jason asks how post-production is going with Starboy. And Brendan's like, we're kind of in this like post-production mutiny phase.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
That's so real.
Yeah. And Jason's like, oh, what's the problem? And Melissa's like, the problem is he ran into Cynthia.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the Dwayne situation. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So as Brendan is explaining pretty much what happened to Jason kind of stops him and he's like, hey, Brendan, can you put a towel down on the chair? It's kind of club policy.
I like how he also says that it's more hygienic. Like he's so worried about hygiene all the time.
Yeah, it's a hygiene issue. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
He just cares about the grilled cheese.
That's when Jason asked the waiter if he's new. And the waiter says yes. Why? And that's when Jason, like, kind of being a dick is like, well, it doesn't normally take a half an hour to bring us our grilled cheese.
And that's when the true Jason showed his face.
Little brat.
Melissa calls Jason out for being rude. Jason says, I think I know what I'm doing, Melissa. This is my country club. Kind of along the lines of, it's so weird because, 2 seconds ago, he's like, I didn't build it. And then he's like, it is my country club.
Is Jason rich?
You know, that's such a good question because I'm pretty sure the first time I ever watched this episode and I saw they were at a country club, I was like, oh, it's Melissa's country club.
I was so thrown off that it was his.
Yeah. Which more hats off to Melissa that she's rich and she knows better.
Right. Yeah, she wasn't about to play his little games of like, oh, those who have should give. And I'm not snooty, but I'm in a country club and you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I expect it from Jason.
So this is the thing I will say. Obviously, of the three main characters, Jason's family is the one we learn the absolute least about.
It's kind of hard when, like, John Benjamin just keeps throwing out some random shit.
Yeah. Matter of fact, quick side note to the podcast, dude. My brother messaged me at one point, and he's like, hey, you in a recent episode said Jason's last name is this. He's like, I don't think that's right. I think it's this. And we had a conversation about it, and we both looked into it, and it turns out throughout the show, I think Jason has 3 different last names.
Get out of
That's
here.
fucked
that
up.
are just like, you see it written down as Panopoulos, and then you see Panoptopoulos. It's like just slightly different spellings, but yeah, it's like he technically has 3 names in the show.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. It's spelled out Panopoulos, Penoopolis, Papadopoulos,
That's the one I remember Chris talking about.
Penapopoulos.
Penapopoulos.
Yeah, there's a lot of... I think it's essentially the same thing. They're just goofing with the spelling and pronunciation more than likely, but...
Francis Ford Coppola's Metropolis.
Yeah. So the next scene, we have Brendan and Coach McGurk at soccer practice, and Brendan is getting some pretty
horrible,
interesting advice from Coach McGurk.
I wrote down bad advice.
I will say, I will agree with both of you. It is horrible and bad. And we're going to listen to it now.
Look, here's an old trick, right?
Okay.
Tell her you're taking her out to the opera.
Right.
Right? You meet her somewhere.
Sure.
But
He's
oh
writing it
no.
down.
Yeah.
I forgot the tickets. They must be back at my place.
Right.
Right? You following?
Yes.
All right, so now you got her back at your place, right?
Right.
And, you know, while you're looking for the tickets,
Mm-hmm.
you open a bottle of wine. You know, in your case, probably beer.
Right.
Anyway, you have a couple drinks, right?
Yes.
And then you're like, well, we got to go to the opera, but oh no, I'm feeling a little tipsy
Sure.
from the wine, so we can't possibly go to the opera.
Yeah, Jane. Yeah.
All right?
You're right.
And then you're there, in your place, with the girl.
Right.
It's a classic.
Yeah. You know, in that scenario, you've lured her into the thing with opera. Then you don't give her the opera. Wouldn't theoretically she be disappointed?
Of course. That's why you reschedule the opera.
Wait, and then what? Lose the tickets again?
Yeah.
Man, you sure know a lot about women, Coach.
Brendan, you know, I've been studying them for a long time.
Well, do you have a girlfriend currently?
Well, it's kind of tough in this town, Brendan. You know, this particular town happens to be dry.
Oh.
Why?
Why?
Because all the smart, pretty girls, you know, move away from crappy two-bit towns like this, right?
Sure.
And go on and live their great lives.
Right.
And have great success.
Sure.
Well, people like me, who have some integrity and loyalty, stick with this town.
Right.
Fighting the good fight, Brendan.
Um.
In a way, Brendan, I am a hero. Yeah.
Like as far as like a representative.
Oh, I'm like a sexless John Glenn.
Thanks for the advice.
All right.
So, 2 things I love. In a way, Brendan, I am a hero. I love that line. Second off, who's John Glenn?
Isn't John Glenn... When I Google this, I thought he was an astronaut.
I thought he was an asshole.
An asshole-dronaut.
Black hole brew.
John Glenn was an American Marine Corps aviator, astronaut, businessman, and politician.
Shout out John Glenn. Never heard
Wait,
of
what
him
type of
before.
politician?
That's true. Fair.
Good question. John Glenn is kind of that name you give is like, oh yeah, that guy's a fucking hero. You know, he's an astronaut, he's a senator, he was in the Marines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
So John Glenn is like John McGurk coded.
yeah. So John Glenn is like a very sex-filled John McGurk.
And now we're back
Back again.
from outer space.
All right. So the next scene, we're at Brendan's house. He's in the sandbox with Jason. This is when Jason is suggesting that if he wants to impress Cynthia, Brendan should pretend to be him and take her to the country club. Brendan pushes back like almost immediately. And Jason says it's perfect. They can use the pool, the spa area, get free food and charge it to the account. That should impress anyone. Brendan does not seem very interested in the idea, saying that even though he enjoys the thought of spending his family's money without them knowing, he doesn't feel like it would be right. Brendan is worried that they're going to ask him questions about Jason that he just doesn't know. For example, his parents' names, and then even asks, what are your parents' names? And Jason kind of takes a beat and says, hold on, I have it written down in my wallet.
I didn't have a wallet when I was 8 years old.
No?
No.
Did you have a sandbox?
No.
So the next scene, we're at Coach's apartment. We hear a phone ring, and Coach is looking through a yearbook at Allison Allie McCahey. She remembers 102 Blue, the Mushy song, Eric Fest, whatever that is. One of the things she writes down is soccer, which is that maybe why McGurk calls her?
Oh, they both love soccer.
One of the things she has in her yearbook is the IMMY, the capital IMMY. Don't know what that is. And it says, friends, can't name them all. Love you guys. Very kind of typical, I think, yearbook.
Quote.
Did you have a yearbook quote?
I did. Did you?
The way our situation worked was we weren't allowed to put them in the yearbooks. We had to put them in the school newspaper, so everyone had quotes. And you know who was on the newspaper?
Who?
It was me. So
You worked on your school newspaper?
yeah, it was actually pretty crazy. We did this school newspaper, but only 4 people signed up for the class. So each of us had like 5 articles we had to write, like
Oh, shit.
every single time.
That's a lot.
Oh, it was a lot.
How often did your school newspaper get published?
Every 2 weeks.
Bro.
Oh yeah.
Fuck that.
I had a movie review one, and I had no idea like how to critique movies, and then like RoboCop 2014 came out. I was like, this is great. It's a bad movie. But the way that we had to go through all of the quotes that everyone like turned in, and we had to basically nix the ones that were like not appropriate. There was this might date. There's a lot of gratata that was just
Oh
like
my
coming
God.
across my desk. So much gratata. There's
Oh,
so
Lord
much
in
of it that, and they're like, "What's grat?" And I couldn't tell her what gratata was. I couldn't, so I was like, it's fine. But there was 2 people, the 2 girls came up to me, and they're like, "Okay, my quote's gonna be best, and my quote's gonna be friends. So just put that together." I took hers best, and then I took someone else's quote that said, "To be honest, I'm probably never gonna see any of you guys ever again." And I put that in between, and then it ended with friends. It was the best. I'm probably never gonna see any of you ever again. Friends. I thought it was funny.
That
but
is funny. That is very funny. What was your senior quote?
never say hello and you'll never say goodbye.
Ooh. So you're just not talking to people in general.
That was my poem that I like came up with, so
Oh, shit.
I just held on to it. I just put it as my quote. It was
It's
in
in,
the
that
newspaper.
it's in that first Puzzle Valley.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
That's so true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
What was yours?
Didn't have one.
You didn't have a senior quote?
No, so at my school you had to like get professional photos for senior year, and I was way too cool and high for that. So what they did, instead of using my junior year photo that I got taken like at the high school, they went back and got my freshman year photo.
For your senior photo. That's
So there's all these like nice professionally done color photos, and then there's a black and white photo of me in like a tie-dye Grateful Dead shirt and a hemp necklace.
little cutie.
You were the cool one.
I was very high.
Cutie
What about
little
you,
kid,
Adele?
Tim. Mine was, it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring.
Oh, that's really good.
That's nice.
I think you aged really well with that because that's like who you are as a person of just like I want to be.
Yeah, ridiculous.
I want to be who I am is what I would
Exactly.
say. but-
No, that's been my MO most of my life. That's Marilyn Monroe who said that, by the way.
Nice.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love that.
I thought that was an original.
No, I'm not that clever.
But what about James Letterhead? What did he have?
Yeah, that's later. That's for later. Let's get back to this. So Coach is looking at Allie in the yearbook, and the phone's ringing. So we get an answer on the other line, and it's just absolute chaos. You hear children yelling, smashing stuff. Allison is like, hold on, and yells at the kids to shut up. And she asks who it is, and he's like, it's John McGurk from high school. And then there's a beat, and she's even like, oh, yeah. How are you? And Coach is drinking a beer, which he sets on the table. And we see, did you catch it? On his end table?
Oh, the picture of him and his dead fish.
It's him and Sammy
Oh.
with the hearts around
Yeah,
it.
I did write that down.
I caught something else, so I didn't
Oh.
catch that.
We see a quick yearbook shot of McGurk at the Halloween ball dressed as a cheerleader.
The queen of the ball.
Yep, underneath it says John McGurk, Queen of the Ball. She tells him to hold on again, yells at her kids, and at that point, someone else picks up the phone and is trying to dial out. I forgot about that. Like when you had a house phone and you're talking and somebody just picks up and dials. You're like, oh, yeah, that was the thing.
I won't say it because I repeated it on this podcast, like in the early episodes, but I used to do that to my sister when boys would call the house.
Oh, jeez.
You little stinker.
I know. I've always been brother coded.
Yeah. You would do that, though, as a trick to pick up the receiver and then dial and be like, oh, sorry, and then just hit the button so you could listen in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were the days. So the person who is trying to dial out is obviously like Allison's husband, I would guess. He says hello and Coach says hello. Allison gets back on the line and she's like, sweetheart. And Coach is like, yeah, I'm here. Like not reading the situation at all. Coach tells him that he doesn't want to interrupt and then proceeds to ask Allison out on a date for Friday evening. We hear absolute chaos on the other end. And then Coach is just like, Allison?
I really want to know the conversation between her and her husband after they hung up the phone.
Right.
I don't think they were allowed to. They had too many screaming kids.
Oh, God.
My guess is her husband was like, who the hell was that? And she's like, some dude from high school.
Now help me take down these kids. They're screaming.
Take them down.
I wrote down why I don't want kids. That sounds like a nightmare.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Well, the following scene, we see Paula sitting in front of the typewriter, air quotes, typing very quickly. Brendan walks in and asks her if she can pass the typewriter. She tells Brendan that he's lucky that he does not have her test anxiety, and Brendan's even like, who says I don't? Paula says she didn't think she'd be taking tests at this late in life, and she's actually a fast typer. She's just bad under pressure. Brendan starts asking for her opinion on the country club situation. She tells him that he's 8 and to go for it, not take it too seriously. Brendan even calls her out and says, don't take it too seriously. You can say that while you're sitting here typing at the table. I mean, he's not wrong, but for whatever reason, this is what kind of pushes Brendan over to the side of, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to call Cynthia and we're going to do the country club.
I hate watching first dates. I hate
So
that.
awkward.
I hate that trope in media. So because the writers want to do their best to make you cringe.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And it works so much.
Yep. So we're back at soccer practice, and this is where Coach is like kind of flipping through a yearbook, and we do see McGurk's yearbook. It's John McGurk, Big John, or Disco John.
Why couldn't he be the disco comedian?
He remembers Boogie Shoes, French Fry Fridays, The Pit, the great friends Aya, Damon, Davo, Pops, Big Guy, Hoffman, Jamie, Big Bree, and his quote is, you should be dancing.
That's so sad. Just to see him who he is now and he's not dancing.
Yeah, he's not.
When was the last time he went dancing?
I hope he dances at some point in the show.
Maybe. Here's my question, though. Why is high school Coach wearing a whistle around his neck?
Oh.
Safety.
Yeah, safety whistle.
I guess so. Maybe that's why he had the safety whistle. It's like, you know what? I guess I'm just coaching soccer now.
I mean, maybe they hand them out at work sometimes and you just keep them in your car for like years after you've left the job.
So I heard Adele's reaction when this scene started with Coach telling Brendan, there's nothing wrong with lying to women.
I also wrote that.
There's nothing wrong with lying to women
Or the government.
or God.
Or your parents. Or God. I
I
agree with one of those.
I agree with most of them.
Sometimes you gotta lie to your parents
That's
to
right.
protect them.
Well, Brendan asks, what if they figure out he's lying? Coach specifies women, and Brendan says, yeah. And then Coach says, who needs them? Lie to men.
I looked over at Adele when that was said. I just saw the tiniest twitch, and it was just
It's defeat at this point, guys. It's just. I understand the show. It's satire. Like they understand what they're trying to say, but
Right.
just hearing it, it's like, yeah, it's a joke, but there are people out there who
It's
genuinely feel this way.
It is very upsetting that this was satire in 2002, and people today say that with
Their
their
whole chest.
full chest,
Yeah.
and not a bit of satire.
Only this time they tweet it, and now it's there forever.
Cute. Good thing I'm not on Twitter. That's right,
Same.
Twitter. That's when Coach asks, why do we play this crazy game and make ourselves vulnerable and open up? It's women. Coach says...
Wait, does he say it's women or two women?
He definitely says women.
Yeah, that was the part where I was like, hold on a second. Because I agreed with him when he was like, why are we playing this game? And I'm like, I agree. I hate the game. And then he said women. I was like, well, hold on there, Rigger. Let's pull it back a bit.
Well, Coach says that the point is, as long as she believes you're part of that country club, then there's no problem. And Brendan says what happens if she finds out. And that's when Coach says, who cares? You're 8. You have your whole life to be miserable.
Felt.
You really said you'll make regrets today.
Well, that's when Coach's cell phone rings. He answers it, and it's Lorraine Christensen, or Lori, who, according to the yearbook, remembers Scooby Snacks, field hockey, and all my friends. And then it says, thanks, Mom and Dad. She tells him she's dying to get together with him and talk about his new internet startup that just went public. And then she's like, I want some stock tips. Just kidding. She congratulates him on losing all that weight and says that, you'll have to tell me about your next competition. And Coach is like, yes. And which competition is that, by the way? And she says it's the bodybuilding competition, of course.
So not the misogyny contest that I've been winning my entire life.
That would be a wild first date.
Well, in the last episode, isn't that what Jason and Melissa went on in the first date movie that they were doing?
Oh, yeah, that was a couple episodes ago. I remember that.
Yeah. Just real quick, are we going to skate by the fact that Coach had a perm?
He did have kind of curly hair, huh?
Yeah.
Was that he had a perm back then, or was that he just had curly hair and maybe it's fallen out a little bit? It's
Or
shorter?
was it the 80s when everybody was getting a perm?
Yeah, it could have been.
Because he graduated in 83?
Yeah, that's
He
right.
did graduate in 83, but that would have put him in high school in 79. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the disco era, isn't it? Like the 70s?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't disco
Amazing.
die right in that era?
I feel like it
Yeah.
did. So, yeah, maybe it was a perm. Who knows?
It was Disco John, baby.
Disco John. Well, that's when Lori says she's got to run. Friday at 7 sounds great. She hasn't been to the opera in years, and she is so excited. I like that part. He hangs up, and then he looks at Brendan, and he's like, all right, what was I talking about? Basically talking about lying to women and now being stuck with all your lies.
Yeah.
This Friday at 7.
There is a trope in media that I cannot stand, and it's called the liar reveal trope. I can't stand watching it. It's just every plot where it starts off with a big lie, and you know that it's going to end with all of the lies coming out at the worst time, and I hate watching it.
The snowball of the lie effect.
Yeah.
Where it gets bigger and bigger, and then it's revealed, and everybody hates them.
One of the worst ones for me was Bug's Life, when they revealed that they're from the circus and not big warriors. God.
Bug's Life is a classic, my guy.
We need to watch it again right now.
Pull Bug's Life or Ants?
Both.
Both are
Double
great.
feature.
Double feature.
They mean the
Hell
same
yeah.
thing. Lie reveal. There's 3 different lies in this episode, so as it was going, I was like, oh no. The second he hung up the phone with, what was her name, Lori?
Lori, yeah. Or Lorraine. Yeah.
Lorraine, I was like, oh fuck, I don't want to watch this. I don't want to watch him crash and burn.
So that does seem to be the theme with the ABC in this episode, is Brendan is lying to Cynthia, Coach is lying to Lori, and Paula is lying about her typing test.
Yeah.
So maybe this episode should have been called Liars.
Yeah.
Or not. I don't know. I don't write them. So real quick, we're back at the temp agency. It's funny because we start on an establishing outside shot of a place called Executive Placement Incorporated, but then it actually pans over, and where we're actually at is Fast Cash Temp Agency. So the same man who says hello to Paula asks if she's there to take the test again, and she says yes, and he says, you're going to do great.
Did we mention how the banner says that careers are for suckers?
Is that what it said?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so right?
Yeah, because it's a temp agency. You don't want a lifetime career, then we could never make money off you again. So now we're back at the country club, and this scene opens with 2 kids in the pool getting into a fight, but it pans over to Brendan and Cynthia in the kiddie pool. This was when I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. What happened?
I've seen this episode so many times, and this was genuinely the first time I caught this. Do you guys
Okay.
see this? Do you see this?
Oh,
Those are
gnomes.
I was thinking you saw somebody you recognized in the background. Oh my God. I would
Not
never
quite.
have seen
And then a gnome
that.
here and a gnome here.
Oh, wow.
So in the establishing shot for the country club, when Brendan and Cynthia are there, And it starts at the pool and then it pans over to the kiddie pool. There's 4 gnomes statues on kind of like the wall of the country club.
Mm-hmm.
So I just realized that, and then so I wrote that down in my notes real quick. But then in a scene where the waiter is taking their order, you can see the same gnome statue right behind the waiter. So they do show it a couple of times, but that is, I believe, the gnome for this episode.
Interesting. There's 4 of them.
Yeah. I think that's the most gnomes so far.
Well, maybe when Melissa made those cookies.
Oh, yeah.
You're so
there's like
right.
a pile of them, but
Edit that out.
Never.
No, I sound
Melissa-
like an idiot.
When Melissa bought those cookies.
Call her out.
Cynthia is asking Brendan why they're in the kiddie pool, and Brendan almost says that they're there to blend in, but then corrects himself to say it's fun being a kid.
What age group is that? Because they're 8.
They're 8, and it seems like everyone in the kiddie pool is probably like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Yep.
I guess. I don't know how you guys felt about this, and I could be wrong, but I don't understand what Cynthia was complaining about for this engagement, because you want to go into the big pool with people dunking each other and like being very violent. And
Yeah, I think she's being a little, I don't want to say unreasonable, but yeah, contradictive, because she is simultaneous like, why are we in the kiddie pool? But then also like, don't splash me, don't get my hair wet, don't.
Yeah.
And it even happens later that she gets cannonballed anyway, so.
I understand. Brendan's in the wrong here for lying about a thing, which
Absolutely.
maybe not. I don't care about the country club. Lie about whatever the fuck, but like lying to your date. Cynthia just seemed like she didn't want to be at the pool, so it's like, let's leave and go somewhere else. But she also didn't want to leave.
Yeah, it's weird. So that scene ends with Brendan suggesting they get food. She seems kind of like, yeah, we can do that. Brendan asks if she likes grilled cheese, and she asks if they can see a menu, and Brendan is like, we don't want to complicate things. The waiter here is already kind of slow. It's just like a little callback. So we cut back to Paula, and she's taking the typing test for the second time, and once again, she is just hit with anxiety. Her hands are paralyzed, and she decides to just rip off the top of the test copy and turn that in as her copy.
I didn't notice that's what she was doing.
Yeah, that's what she did. She just ripped off. She tried to rip off the part that said test copy, but you could still see through the ripped part, and that's why when she hands it to the guy in a later scene, he's like, oh boy. Like, he's like, wait a minute.
They took this way too seriously.
Yeah. So we have a quick scene of McGurk, and he's trying to put on, well, it appears to be a pair of disco pants. He's struggling and falls onto his, I wrote air quotes, coffee table, which is like 4 beer boxes and a piece of plywood. And he makes the comment, why did I have to tell her I was a bodybuilder? I should have told her I was fat. Now we're back at the country club. Brendan and Cynthia are ordering the 2 grilled cheeses and 2 sodas. That's when you can see the gnome statue again behind the waiter. Brendan's acting very nervous. And even at the end of the order, he's like, there it is, and there you go. And the waiter asks for an account number, and Brendan tells him 5234. And the waiter confirms 5234. And Brendan's like, yeah, why? He's like, oh, no reason. It's like a back and forth. And Brendan is like very nervous. And Cynthia even asks him, like, why are you shaking? And he's like, no reason.
I don't know why the waiter cared.
No.
Maybe he remembered Brendan from Jason being a dick and was like,
Yeah.
these kids, dude. So I don't know.
I mean, I can understand that, but like Brendan wasn't being the one being a dick. It was the member.
That's true.
In his mind, it should have been like, oh, you're using this kid's dime? Yeah, let's fucking go.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, obviously he didn't want to stir the pot, and the less interactions he had with the waiter, the better. So he's like, let's just get the grilled cheese. No follow-ups. Oh, so now we cut back quickly to that scene with Paula. She hands the man the test. He asked Paula how she did, and she said much better. And the man takes the paper, and yeah, he's like, wait a minute. Oh, boy. So now we're back at the country club, and the waiter is asking Brendan if his name is Jason. And Brendan plays along, and he's like, yes. He even does that thing where Jason does, where he kind of puts his hands,
I noticed that.
his arms like over his head.
I didn't notice that was something Jason does. Does Jason do that often?
Yeah, when he gets like nervous.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wouldn't
I
say often, but I'd say he's probably done it 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did it when he was asking Brendan to hang out with him at his house.
Oh. Yeah. He also started beating himself in that face.
He sure did.
So he's asking him if he's Jason. Brendan is playing along and says yes, but then Cynthia walks up and asks if everything is okay, but she uses Brendan's name. The waiter asks what happened to Jason, and Brendan gets defensive. And he's like, do you know who my father is? And the waiter quickly says no. And he's like, then how about my mother? Somebody else calls for the waiter. And so he walks away. And Brendan's even like, yeah, you're lucky.
See, I don't know why. I understand lying to get into a country club, but why didn't he let her in on the lie? Like,
Probably because she would have been like, this is a terrible idea.
I guess, yeah, that's true. But then they could have just redirected from there.
So I understand, like, if this was real life and that was happening, yeah, the logical thing would be like, yo, I can get into this club. It'd be under someone else's name. Like, we just got to be cool about it. Mm-hmm. You got to set up that, I always call it a sitcom-esque misunderstanding. Like, you always got to have that, so...
I mean, I think that's my biggest take from most TV shows is like, just tell them the truth. Why didn't you just tell them
So many
the
times,
truth?
a phone call, a text, or an honest conversation will fix the entire situation.
Absolutely.
I think he was definitely just, one, trying to impress her. Like, I have access to this country club.
Right.
Otherwise, if he said, I have nothing of value to do on a date, what do you want to do? She'd be like, I don't know, figure it out. Because that's what she did earlier. And
I know, but just to... I don't know.
No, I don't think he's in the right.
Yeah.
But I feel like he felt like she wanted something more from him than just like hanging out.
Right.
Yeah.
And he didn't know what to do.
Well, then you ask, hey, what's your interests? What do you like doing? And then she says it, and then you plan accordingly after that.
I feel like something along those lines almost happened, and then she said, "Well, figure it out." And then, but I can't remember that.
Who
far.
knows? He's also 8. He wouldn't have the foresight to be like, "Oh, hey, let me talk to you about what you like."
That's true.
Oh, so the waiter walks away. Brendan and Cynthia start eating the grilled cheese, and Brendan drops his straight into a puddle. Cynthia says, like, hey, you should send that back. And Brendan says he doesn't want to bother the waiter again. Then proceeds to take a bite of a soggy grilled cheese sandwich.
Gross.
It did make me really want a grilled cheese sandwich. So, like, not that, but like when they showed up in the first scene, I was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I want that.
When grilled cheese is done right, it's delicious.
Hell yeah.
I hate soggy bread, though, so that whole scene
I
just
understand.
made my body hurt.
All right. So we have a very quick scene of McGurk pulling up to the opera. He's got his coach's uniform on with the white jacket. He's got the gloves. He's in his reckless Firebird.
I love the car so much, dude.
Coach sees Lori and says, oh my God, she's gorgeous. And then even asks, why couldn't she be a fat hag like me?
He felt like, he has so many self insecurities.
Yeah.
He could have just pulled up in the car, and I think she would have got in. I think his mistake was getting out of the car.
Well, they were at the opera.
I would not advise women do not get into random cars from dudes you went to high school with.
Unless it says reckless on the front.
Again, women, please do not do this.
I want the audience to know that Dell gave me such an evil eye when I said that.
Even as a joke. Nope. So we're back at the country club, and Brendan is like ready to go. Cynthia pushes back, and she's like, well, I told Dwayne and those guys that we would meet up with him later. And Brendan's like, okay, cool, perfect. Let's go. That's when Cynthia specifies, no, I told him to meet us here. And we actually, you see Brendan in her glasses reflection. And at first he's like really happy because he's like, yeah, let's get out of here. And she's like, no, I told him to meet us here. And his face just drops. Yeah. And that's when we see the scab van speed into the parking lot. The side door opens with the entire band. And then some people that I don't even think are in the band. You see them jump into the pool. They're like causing a ruckus. They're drowning kids, or like they're dunking kids. They're like shooting them with water guns. I think one of them's like chasing a kid in a golf cart.
I realize this is the early 2000s, but is there no security at this country club, like checking people as they come in? Can anyone just waltz into a country club and not get checked?
Apparently in this country club, they're like, yeah, it's fine. The waiter asks Brendan if they are with him, and Brendan says, yeah. And the waiter is like, come with me. I think at one point he's like, I'd rather not. And then he's like, yeah, come with me. And he's like, yeah, you got it. We're back at the temp agency, and Paula is in the office. So the man she was talking to and another man that we haven't seen yet are sitting with her. The original man asked Paula why she turned in her test copy. And Paula says she doesn't do well on tests. And the man kind of hits back with, Paula, life is a test. and Paula says, I was paralyzed with fear. And the man says he's speechless and disappointed. That's when the other man speaks up. And he even says, let me take over Jim. So I believe the original guy Paula was talking to the first 2 times she tested, his name is Jim. But the other guy who starts talking, who is voiced by Brendan, he's got a name tag on his desk that says Bruce. So I guess these are Jim and Bruce, but they're never specified.
Okay.
But that's just kind of what I picked up.
Bruce.
So that's when the other guy, Bruce, says, okay, let me take over, Jim, and continues. He's asked Paula, what should we do about this situation?
You could give her the job and just leave her alone.
I was going to say, or
Help
just
the girl out.
not give her a job and be like, go to the temp agency next door.
Yeah,
I don't
don't
need to
lecture
tell
her.
you. Yeah.
Oh my God. They just really reveled in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait till the line gets said of that this.
Well, he reiterates, he's like, Paula, life is a test. And Paula's like, yeah, the other guy already said that. And he makes a comment about how disappointed and that, you know what? You're too far gone, Paula. And that's when she kind of chimes up and she's like, you guys are morons. Morons, Paula. I cannot believe I was attracted to you. And that's when the other guy chimes in, me too.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
God.
And Paula's like, okay, this is weird. I've never even met you. So that's even weirder.
I mean, he was creeping on her from afar.
Yeah. So now we cut to the next scene, which is kind of a mirroring of this scene, but instead it's Brendan getting reprimanded by the waiter. I don't know if this guy's like a manager, president, whatever of the country club, but Adele pointed out he is pale white.
Oh, yeah.
Has not left the country club indoors.
Just the manager of the inside.
So they're telling him, hey, we know you're not a member. Brendan is like, not a member yet. Brendan says he was just trying to impress a girl. And like weirdly, that manager type was like, which one?
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. And I was like, what?
There's only
What?
one.
And what does that matter? It's a child.
Yeah, like you're going to see the girl and then determine if it's worth forgiving from there.
So the waiter pushes back and he's like, you can't impress girls by just going around.
I feel like I'm going crazy.
Adele was just like wide-eyed, gritting her teeth at me. It was like, I didn't say it.
Sorry, I'm fine.
It's okay. The waiter pushes back and says, you can't impress girls by going around lying to everyone. And he tells Brendan, we're going to have to call your mother. And Brendan hits back. He says, okay, but if we can call your mother first.
That was like, all right, good. We're back.
I love this because I think at this point, Brendan's like, all right, I'm busted. Like, I'm already busted. So he's like class clown turning it on. So they're like, we got to call your mother. He's like, well, we got to call your mother first. And the waiter's like, this is serious. We do need to call your mom. And Brendan's like, good, tell her we're out of milk. And the manager is like, this is not funny. And Brendan's like, no, we're too close. In 2 weeks, this is going to be hilarious.
And you know what? He's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the waiter tells him, don't be a smart aleck. And Brendan's like, my name's not Alec. You got the wrong kid. That's when I think the waiter kind of loses it. And he's like, you know what, kid? I don't need to take this.
This is the constant bits.
I don't need to take this. I'm a waiter.
I have respect in this industry.
Not from Jason,
No.
but still.
So this part cracks me up because we cut back to Paula with Jim and Bruce. And Jim, it literally cuts to Paula, her phone's ringing, and the first thing you hear Jim say is, my fallen angel.
Yeah. Every time you're disappointed in me, I want you to refer to me as your fallen angel, please.
Paula, my fallen angel.
Fallen angel.
So Paula's cell phone rings. She answers it. It's Brendan. And she's like, hey, you busy? And he's like, yeah, I got busted at the country club. And he asked how the typing test went. And she said, well. And Brendan's like, hey, so these guys want to talk to you? And Paula's like, can you tell them I'm busy? And Brendan says, I don't know. These guys take themselves pretty seriously. And Paula says, yeah, these guys do too.
I love that they're in the same situation. They're not mad at each other.
No.
Yeah.
A call to a parent felt like a death sentence.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Yeah.
Paula has absolutely no reason to be mad at Brendan. She told him to do this.
That's fair.
Absolutely.
That's
She
fair.
told him to do this.
Yeah.
He went to her and expressed how he did not feel easy about doing this. And she's like, you're a kid. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah, make regrets today.
So you cannot get mad. And you can't. There was like a Brendan. But what are you going to do? You told him to do this.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. I was still expecting the parent like, you got caught.
Yeah.
Now I look like a bad mom.
When Brendan is like, yeah, these guys take themselves pretty seriously, Paula's like, yeah, so do these guys. And Brendan's like, what? And Paula's like, nothing. Do you want to go out to eat tonight? And Brendan suggests pizza, and Paula says, perfect.
Love that.
And then they smiled at each other, and the sitcom music played.
Yep. Yeah, we're at the penultimate scene, the second to last. Coach is approaching Lori at the opera. Very, very quick background catch, but did you see the name of the opera?
No.
No,
We
I
see
was
it for a
blocking it
split
out.
second, and it's called Can Opera Do This?
I did not know. I literally was holding my eyes and like covering my ears because I couldn't
It's
deal
the
with
cringe
it.
factor.
Yeah,
It's so funny because it literally last week's episode, the party, Fenton Muley's party, Brendan is talking to those two weird kids. Oh, yeah, I'm going to make my own Star Wars with this and this. And then he's like, what are you going to call it? And he's like, I'm going to call it, Can Star Wars Do This?
I didn't catch that.
Neither did I.
And
That's so good.
I forgot he was gonna do a Star Wars clone.
Maybe it'll come up in the future.
It did today. This episode.
Maybe there's an entire episode where that's the movie that they made.
Ooh.
Or not. Who knows? I don't know. I've never seen these episodes a million times each.
Do you guys
You
feel?
fibber.
Do you like Star Wars?
I prefer the movie Can Star Wars Do This?
I don't want to make any enemies. I don't dislike the franchise at all. It's just, it's a lot.
I remember when it was just a simple few movies and
Yeah.
then,
Now it's
whatever.
a lot
It's
bigger.
it's very saturated now. I've played some Star Wars video games I've enjoyed tremendously. The very first Force Unleashed. Did you play that one?
Oh yeah, so
good
good.
game. I played it on PS3 and Wii because the Wii you can lightsaber. Zing, zing, zing. Wee!
That was like
I'm a
me-
Jedi.
Me playing like a Harry Potter game on Xbox 360 Connect, and it's just, oh god, they're coming everywhere.
Marcia's like, the boy who lived is going to die.
Harry Potter's dead!
God, we could do a whole fucking anyway.
Anyway, so he walks up to Laura. He introduces himself. She looks very confused.
Well, she's expecting a bodybuilder.
Yeah. Well, he tells her, look, I know what you're thinking, and I can explain. I lied.
Fuck off.
She gives a nervous giggle, and he specifies that, yeah, everything I said was a lie. I am a liar. Where he says she doesn't understand, and he is like, look, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm embarrassed about who I am. This is the real me. He confesses that he's just a kid soccer coach. He's incredibly vulnerable with her, tells her, hey, we might enjoy each other's company regardless. Maybe talk a little bit about soccer. He even went ahead and bought the opera tickets. So then he tells her, look, the ball's in your court. And by the time he looks up, she is getting into a taxi and driving away.
Dude, I was so thankful for that though. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear her response.
No.
And I missed most of that you just described because I had my eyes and my ears closed. But I got to the part where like the car drove off and I heard that. I was like, oh, thank God, she's gone.
Yep.
Well, you can't lie to someone and then expect them to just be okay enough to stay.
Yeah.
Oh, can I say real quick, Lori was voiced by Paula Plum. Paula Plum, Principal Plum,
Oh, yeah.
Monkey.
Okay. Monkey.
Yeah, they tap Paula Plum quite a bit for a lot of the female voices. So anytime I hear her now, it's like, oh, yeah. I can kind of tell it's her.
Recognize it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was wondering because he was talking about how like, oh, this town's dry, Brendan. They're all gone. But he was just like in a decent conversation with Fenton's mom in the last episode.
Right.
So.
Yeah, what's he mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Fenton mom not good enough for you?
Justice for Fenton's mom.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't so much Fenton's mom, but who Fenton's mom's child is.
That's fair.
Who is that
He
again?
probably didn't want to have to be a parent to that.
Maybe they hung out a couple times, and McGurk was like, "Jolly Jeepers, this kid is fucking annoying."
Jolly Jeepers, this is not great.
No.
Jolly Jeepers, I'll kill this kid from here any longer.
So, guys, it is the final scene. We have a hooded Melissa talking to Starboy and the captain of outer space.
I was so pissed about this.
And she's just kind of like, You, Starboy, and you, Captain of Outer Space, are brothers. Starboy says, okay, I need a minute to process this. And Jason, as the Captain of Outer Space, holds up his hand puppet and says, me too. We pull back to reveal that this is Brendan showing Dwayne and the rest of the band and asking them if they were surprised. One of them says he's not so fond of the execution, and the other says he saw it coming.
You can't do it. You can't make everybody happy.
It's true.
Yep. And even with the opinions that they gave you. I mean, realistically, yeah, maybe not the best execution. And of course they weren't surprised. They gave him the suggestion of making them related.
Which is exactly what Brendan said.
It's kind of like the Sonic movie, if you think about it, because people were so pissed about the original animation of Sonic, and then they changed it for the people, and then they were still like, this wasn't good.
No. I like the Sonic
I enjoyed
movie.
the Sonic movie. I know someone who didn't like the Sonic movie.
Me and Ed, because it was the last movie we saw before the pandemic happened.
Was it really?
It
Yeah.
was, and Eddie was so pissed because there's only one reason he wanted to see the movie was because they had put Sonic in there as like an Easter egg.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted to see that. It was in the first 5 minutes of the movie,
Yeah.
and I was late to the movie with Ed. And then
Oh.
we sat through the whole time, and it just like Sonic farts really loud, and then he's like, "You've been eating too many chili dogs." Like, what's a chili dog? And then he flosses, and then Ed looked at me at the end of the movie. He's like, "That was dog shit."
That's a shame. I love Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah.
really good,
And
especially in Parks and Rec.
I don't know, for a movie like what Sonic was, I enjoyed the first one. Haven't seen the second or third. This is when Cynthia walks up, and Brendan is like apologizing profusely. I love this. She doesn't accept his apology, and then she's like, "Do you know how embarrassing it is to get kicked out of a country club like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I kind of do."
I am so worried with my opinion of this because I don't know if she's being unreasonable or not. I feel,
I mean, if you get lied to,
yeah, you're right on that front, but like,
Yeah. I hate to play devil's advocate on it because what Brendan did was not cool. You shouldn't have lied about it. Cynthia was not giving him much to work with. I mean, like what you come up with the idea, 8-year-old child who's never been on a date.
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like both parties are kind of in the wrong here.
yeah.
Cynthia tells Brendan she doesn't know if she wants to go around with a kid who lies all the time.
that was just her trying to be mean.
Yeah. And Brendan expresses he doesn't lie all the time, just when he thinks it's important. Yeah, Cynthia kind of leaves, and it shows Dwayne and the band members, and they're all kind of like looking on like, dude.
Yikes, yeah.
And that's when Brendan goes on his last little kind of, this is like a little montage of him talking to himself, figuring out what he can do to make this right.
Probably get her some flowers. That'll,
They
women
are
love
not looking at
flowers.
him.
My mom loves
And
flowers.
Adele's
you know,
shaking her
the
head.
Florists
In the
love flowers.
bathroom.
No, I know how to solve this problem. One word, pine cone bird feeder. That'll show her my sensitive bird feeding side. And well, this is nothing irreparable has happened here. This can be fixed. This can be fixed. Yes.
To be alone so he can process this to a point of understandingness.
Starboy.
We're all shaking our heads because
Yeah.
it's great.
It is a great song.
And that's the end.
So that is the end of season 2, episode 6, titled Impressions. What are our impressions of that episode?
I really wanted to say sandwiches. We finish each other's.
Sandwiches.
That's what I was going to say. Our mental
Bruh.
synchronization. Just for that, like at one point we saw Cynthia closing the door on Brendan because he did offer her like a scented pine cone and whatnot. But something about this episode that I think I want to highlight, because I think the last episode or no, it was the very last episode. The last episode was Fenton's Party, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The thing I didn't like about the last episode was that the song ended on such a like weird indie coming of age film, and it felt very unearned. Because that song was great.
Yeah.
I loved the song in the middle of the season, not at the end of the season, not like in the beginning of the season. It didn't feel like it was earned at all. Here, though, This very end, like they show in the beginning Starboy the song, like he's thinking alone, and then at the end he is now Starboy, like thinking.
They tie it back so well with the music,
Yeah.
and it ties into like Brendan physically wanting to be alone to process everything that's happened to his point of understandingness. Like it ties back so well. So yeah, the way they bring that back around, and that's the ending theme song for the episode. Very well done. Very well done.
Very well.
Bookended. Love it.
I feel like every episode in season 2 I've said this, but I absolutely love the pacing of this episode. I thought the pacing was great. Things happened very quickly, no filler. We're just like, bam, we're in it. So
Can I just say this one thing?
Yes, of
about
course.
the flowers.
Yes.
Here's a little tip: if you give flowers as an apology, it will make them hate flowers. Like if that's like
Oh.
the main.
I never thought of that.
If you only give somebody flowers as an apology, I do not like receiving flowers just in general because of that.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a
So
really
don't
good
do
tip.
that.
Well, and I think just because I know you and we are the way we are, I am more likely to buy you a plant than flowers.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And it's never because I did anything wrong
No,
or I
it's
need
just
to
because you
apologize.
love me.
It's because I love you and I want to get you an awesome
Yes.
gift. Maybe that's why. I know a lot of women that are kind of weird about the flowers thing, and that could be why.
Because here's the thing about receiving flowers as an apology only. You get these flowers, they're beautiful, and then you have to watch those apology flowers slowly die. And it's like, this is not the gift you want to give somebody.
Because see, that's exactly how I feel about flowers myself. Because Nick, I've told them like growing up, AMAB, you don't get flowers. Like you're not the person that receives flowers. You're the person that gives flowers. So I never received flowers. So now Nick makes it a point every time that they go to the store without me, they'll bring me home like a flower.
Oh, that's so cute.
They're very cute, but I hate watching them die. I really.
That does suck.
You could always preserve them, or you can hang them up so they dry really nicely, and then you can have like a collection forever. They last forever once they dry that way.
I'm gonna actually start doing that because
Yeah.
that's the only thing. Because I love when Nick brings me home stuff
Yeah.
and like shows me that they were thinking about me, but I hate watching them die. And the way that you described that is like, ugh.
Yeah. I saw this TikTok of a woman, she kept every bouquet that her husband gave her and she hung them up to dry really nicely, and then she strung them up and made it into wall art, all the dried flowers. It was really beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
I'm
that
not
so
saying
much.
giving flowers in general is bad. I'm saying as an apology.
No,
Oh,
you're-
yeah.
that's
Time and
okay.
place.
All right,
Time and
okay,
place.
yes.
Yeah. I used to deliver flowers as part of a job. And yeah, I would deliver flowers for all kinds of reasons. And some were great, appropriate reasons to get flowers, and some were absolutely not.
Yeah.
The number of women that have called the shop that I worked at and they're like, hey, this guy keeps sending me flowers. I have like a court order against him. He is not allowed to contact me. This is a form of harassment. And then we have to be like, oh, whoa, holy shit. And then deal with that. So I get it. Flowers have always been time and place.
Yeah.
Time and place.
It's not a bad gift. It's a
bad
badly
time.
timed.
You got it. You got it.
Okay.
All right. All right. So anyway.
Really good tip. Really good tip.
Absolutely. Do we want to do Jason's score first? Or we want to do episode?
I think we've been doing Jason's score first.
Yeah, Jason's, especially because I'm the only one giving Jason a grade,
Right.
so I'll just like throw mine out of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
So Jason wasn't terrible this episode, but
Definitely not gross, just kind of acting gross.
just a brat. He's just
Yeah.
he's just a brat.
We've all had our brat moments.
Yeah.
It
So
was just Brad Summer.
I was you got there right
Damn it, I'm
before.
sorry, dude.
You
I'll
got
cut
there
it out.
before-
You say it.
No,
We'll
no,
laugh.
it's not you. You got it after you. You can have the brat summer, but that's my only thing about him. I honestly, he wasn't in the episode very.
No, he really wasn't.
So I don't want to like grade him poorly because of that, but when he was in the episode, he was like very good, very funny. Ha ha ha. I gave him a B,
B for Brat.
but
I
I,
think
give
that's
him
fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
give him a B minus for the way he was treating the waiter.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
yeah, I
don't
think
we
that's
don't shit on wait staff here at this podcast.
Especially because a couple episodes ago, he and his character was shitting on Brendan the waiter.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he should know better.
Yeah.
Once is a mistake. Twice.
It's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. Do we want to do episode grades now?
Yes.
Yes.
No. And that's going to do it for this episode.
I think Tim should go first.
Okay, I already wrote mine down, so I know what it is. Marcin, when the scene with McGurk and Lori happened at the end, and you were very like, there are people who do not enjoy cringe or awkwardness or that situational where it's like, bro, why did you lie? Look what happened now.
Mm-hmm.
For everybody in this episode, Paula, McGurk, Brendan, I get that. I feel that. But for a show to do that with 3 plots in one episode, and I still had multiple occasions where it made me laugh. I was like, oh my God, you're kind of rolling your eyes, whatever. I had my moments of being uncomfortable, but it wasn't to an extent of some of the other stuff I've consumed in that manner.
Yeah.
I do enjoy this episode. I like Paula's plot. I like just all that, the weirdness of those men, and I can't believe I was attracted to you. And then they're like, me too. Like, who are you?
I
Who
love
the
when
fuck
she was
are
like,
you?
"You're morons, all of
Yes,
you."
yes. And calling them out and stuff like that. I gave this episode a B.
Okay.
I think it's a good, not B plus, not B minus, just a straight B. I think
Yeah.
it's a good B episode.
That's what I was gonna give it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it was ultimately I enjoyed watching it as much as it, like, the little sexist comments here and there, like, it hits me right in the gut. But to me, it's more of holding a mirror up to it than actually believing in it.
And I think that's the big thing with this show is this is not coming from a place of like, this is what we believe.
Yeah, no, and I don't take it that way, but hearing it still is kind of like a
It still hurts.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's like, yeah, this is what this big dumb guy says.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the context of that makes it a little more
Palatable.
digestible. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I said, it's more of a holding up a mirror to
Mm-hmm.
this type of rhetoric,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's I can't knock it for that. So I think
Right.
B for me would be the best.
Absolutely. Nice.
On that point, when you're just showing up a mirror, and every time John's like, "It's okay to lie to women," Brent, like, that makes me laugh so hard. Not because, like, I believe it, obviously, but because the holding the mirror up. In my gender communications class, we had to watch this documentary from like the 50s. It felt like a Family Guy bit because it's like, a doctor, blah 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 blah, is a woman against women's rights. It's just like, whoa, and she's quoted, and it's so fucking funny to me because it just, God damn, that's a mirror right there.
Yeah.
It's so stupid now. But as far as the show, like you were saying, this episode, like, I did cringe a lot. I hate liar reveal plots. This is why I can't watch Bug's Life sometimes. Because it's just that part where, like, they're from the circus. It's like, no! So I did cringe a bunch.
Traumatized by Bugs Life.
I did cringe a bunch because I hate the liar reveal trope, but it's such a well-written episode.
Absolutely.
It, like you said, tying it all together, having the same theme, have different aspects of it, and then the way they bookend it with the, like, Starboy and then ending it with Starboy. Really good episode. I remember when the cat episode happened where I was like, I don't want to watch that episode again where they just kill a cat. I gave it a B, so I think I'm going to give this episode a B+.
Okay.
Oh,
Because it was really well written.
Yeah.
And it was really funny.
right.
But I just, that one, just, I don't want to watch McGurk crash and burn every time,
Yeah, it's rough.
even though he deserves it.
It's rough. All right. Well, those are grades. Do we have any last things about the episode we want to get out there before we end it?
So obviously we're not going to get any closure on Cynthia and Brendan for a couple episodes, I'm assuming.
Is she coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that asked already? I'm sorry.
No, it was not.
Okay.
I was just being dramatic.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like, this bitch didn't listen.
Okay, first of all,
I said it. I'm the one who said
I
bitch.
would never even
Say it louder for the microphone so they know.
I would never think that.
I know.
But because of how I'm still waiting on the closure from the last season,
Interesting you say that.
I think that's my only issue is, like, I love the way it was bookended, but, like, just now there's more closure I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
Well, let me look at the watch.
Closure list.
Yeah, unless we just, like, and Cynthia's like, fuck you forever. And then that's what I'm waiting on. But
Yeah.
either way.
We'll see. All right. Are we good? I think that's it.
good.
Yeah, we're good. Okay. That's it. The last thing we got to do is jump into those sweet, sweet plugs.
Plug me up.
All right, Marcin, why don't you go first?
I'm reaching into my bag of infinite projects here. I'm still working on the feature film I started in 2016. It's called The Doorman, and it's really weird, experimental. I started working on it before I even understood how anything in film works, like genres or anything like that, so I don't really know how to classify it. All I know is that it's going to get done one day, hopefully. But the logline is, when his childhood friends ghost him, our main character is called to the madhouse, where he forgets who he is and becomes prey to the man in the doorway. In order to escape, he must answer who he is, what he wants, and what his favorite color is. So that's a mouthful, but that's all the projects I'm working on.
Hell
Hell yeah.
We did not plan that.
No, we didn't. I think we're a unit at this point.
Hell yeah.
An absolute unit.
So sometimes I paint, sometimes I make things, and sometimes I post that on my Instagram, which is the Artisanal of Oddity. That is Art is Anal of Oddity at www.instagram.com. And that's my plug.
And as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Happy Corner Podcast. They were nice enough to donate equipment to us so we could keep this podcast going. So we always want to give them a nice little shout out at the end. The Happy Corner Podcast streams every Sunday at 1:45 Central. And then you can get the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. That's going to do it for this episode of Rewatching Home Movies. Join us next week for Season 2, Episode 7, Dad. If you liked what you heard, check out our Linktree at Linktree/RHMpod. There you can like, follow, and subscribe. Send us an email or leave us a 5-star review. I will read 5-star reviews on the podcast. Thanks to Shannon Conway for the refresh of our logo and Chris Bongat for the use of our theme song. Thanks again to Dr. Adam, and check out his podcast, The Sister Wives Professor, wherever you get your podcasts. On behalf of myself, Tim, and my co-hosts Marson and Adele, thank you for rewatching home movies with us. We'll see you next week. Bye.